Welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame with your hosts, Pierre Camus and Chris Moncano.
Hey guys, welcome to the Fantasy Football Endgame Waiver Wire Quarterback Edition. We're heading into week 4 now, and there are a lot of movers and shakers and some surprising names we didn't expect to be possible streamers at the quarterback position. Let's start with one that, well, I guess maybe nobody's too surprised, and that's Nick Foles. A lot of people thought he might be the starter going into week 1, and a lot of people definitely did not expect Mitch Trubisky to hold on to his job all year long, and it didn't take too long, did it? Now, I'm not going to say that it's not going to last. I'm not going to go out and defend Mitch Trubisky too much, but let me just say don't run out and pick up Foles or don't spend too much fab on him because this isn't necessarily a permanent situation. Remember, they brought Foles in for a situation like this, needed to come back, right? Need to push Trubisky. It doesn't mean that they think Foles will necessarily lead them to the Super Bowl, although I guess he might. But let's talk fantasy. Okay, so realistically, we know this is a guy who's not guaranteed to start the rest of the year. All right. And if so, what is his upside? Is he going to be a top 12 quarterback, top 10 quarterback? Not necessarily. Do have some good receivers as far as Allen Robinson, of course, and Anthony Miller, Jimmy Graham, still there, still doing his thing, solid tight end. But Tariq Cohen just got hurt. This running game basically is David Montgomery, and that is it. The offensive line hasn't been great, so this not like this is an offense that has a sky-high ceiling. So just be careful when you put in a bid for Foles. Don't expect him to be your QB1 in a single quarterback league, especially the rest of the year, all right? Here's the other problem. If you're looking for a streamer right now, think, okay, grab the hot hand. Maybe he'll keep it going week 4. Probably not, because playing Indianapolis, and Indy right now has the top-ranked pass defense in the league. I know it's only 3 games, but still, number 1 against the quarterback, limiting fantasy points. So don't expect it to be a slam dunk that he's going to produce for you in the short term or the long term. That said, if you're looking for a solid backup quarterback, or if you're in a super flex league, yes, you can consider him. Guy that I would consider first is actually rookie Justin Herbert, because he has now gone over 300 passing yards in each of the first 2 games that he has started, and it looks like Tyrod Taylor is not coming back anytime soon. So I would say Herbert is definitely a better investment. He's got the weapons there, right? Obviously, Allen. Mike Williams has been shaken up, so that's the problem, is if they had some better receivers, or at least more depth at receiver, not just a bunch of young players, then who knows what he could do. All right, but right now it's pretty much Keenan Allen, Hunter Henry, and then the running backs. But seeing as how he's got one of the best pass-catching running backs in the game, and yes, he is going to him, Austin Eckler, I think that this will be a solid, if not amazing, offense going forward. So the Chargers, definitely a team that can produce some points. But Herbert, again, not a guy that you think is going to jump up into the QB1 fantasy conversation. So don't pick him up expecting that you can just plug and play, all right? You can stream him in good matchups. He's a solid backup with, high upside at times. But, again, let's not get too crazy. He is still a rookie. He's going to have his down times. He's probably due for a bad game at some point. And then going in week 4, going against Tampa, not the best. Now, obviously, Tampa defense, those numbers are a little skewed. They've played some bad teams, obviously Denver this week, Carolina the week before. It's not like they've gone against these juggernaut offenses. So don't read too much into the fact that Tampa is now ranked 6th against quarterbacks for fantasy points, but also not an easy matchup because they got a lot of good pass rushers there. What about Fitzmagic? I'm all about the Fitzmagic. He didn't put up big numbers on Thursday night, but here's the thing. He didn't have to. If you watch that game, first of all, I'm sorry. But if you did watch, then you realize that obviously they didn't need to pass at all in the second half. They ran away with it. It was the Myles Gaskin show, I guess. So Fitzpatrick had a good first half, but here's the thing. Going against Seattle this coming week, he's going to have to throw the ball. All right, he's going to have to throw the ball all game long. So if nothing else, just by way of volume, maybe garbage time stats, this is a player that could outperform expectations. All right. So I would say Fitzpatrick probably has the higher ceiling over Herbert or Nick Foles this week. Not a player that you want to trust, of course, all year long. But then again, at this point, you're looking for a quarterback on the waiver wire. There aren't too many anyways. I would also say Teddy Bridgewater is kind of a desperation play in a single quarterback league. the thinking was that without McCaffrey, they're going to have to pass the ball more, right? They're not going to feed the ball to Mike Davis, on the ground over and over again. But they didn't really need to pass the ball. They kind of just did, well, what Teddy Bridgewater does best is kind of be that game manager, right? Keep it safe, right? Try to let their defense do something. And they kind of did, and it worked because they won. So I feel like this offense is just not going to be that dynamic, period. There will be days where he has to throw the ball more. Their defense was surprisingly solid in week 3. That's not always going to be the case, all right? Especially when they're not going against a rookie quarterback. So the thing is, I would say Bridgewater, never going to be the most exciting play, but he's going to be a decent, safe streamer at times. I don't know if week 4 is that time. I think he's going to have to pass the ball more. Obviously, going against Arizona defense is kind of susceptible to the pass, but also it's not a pushover. So again, Bridgewater, unless you're in a 2-quarterback league, I think he could be rolled out in that format. But otherwise, pretty much there's not a lot to be interested in here. And his upside isn't the same as those other quarterbacks I just mentioned. So that's why I kind of have him at the bottom of the list there. And then the last quarterback I want to talk about here is Nick Mullens, because for at least a couple more weeks, we think he'll be the quarterback of the 49ers. Now, San Francisco did put up a surprising amount of points, I think 36 points against the Giants, but that's because it was against the Giants. All right, so let's not read too much into this. Yes, Debo's supposed to come back, but that's not until I think week 5. And even so, we know he's not going to be 100%. All right. If George Kittle comes back, that makes things definitely more interesting. This still is not going to be a high-volume passing attack. Mullens did have a couple of big games the last time he was a starter quarterback a couple years ago, but he also had some bad games. This is not a guy that you want to trust too much with your fantasy team. So I would put him at the bottom of the heap as far as quarterbacks for the waiver wire this particular week. All right, hopefully that helps. And of course, hit that subscribe button, notification bell, so you don't miss any of our waiver wire or weekly start sit episodes.